Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 129 of Final Score, getting deeper into November, deeper into football. A lot of great stuff going on right now. I am solo again tonight, but we are finally back after having to deal with some stuff last week. But we are here, and we are going to have this show, and it's going to be some great stuff. Thank you all for viewing tonight. But definitely make sure to follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Go on all those platforms, hit the like, follow, and subscribe button. And definitely check out all the great stuff that we have going on. But also on this post, go ahead and hit the reaction and share buttons for us. Help get Final Score out there a little bit more. Help us, or help others, I should say, see episode 129. So definitely you can do that for us. We'd definitely be eternally grateful to you guys, as we already are. But jumping into the college football playoff top six, the top six being released not that long ago, just a couple of hours ago, by the college football playoff subcommittee. A little bit of relief and surprise, I guess you could say, depending upon who you are. When you look at some of these rankings, starting out at number one, we have Georgia after their big win over Charleston Southern, 56-7. And Georgia getting it done all kinds of ways, through the air, on the ground, utilizing everybody. Ended up totaling just short of 500 yards, had a total of 8 touchdowns offensively. Absolutely great game by Georgia, but honestly expected. You're playing Charleston Southern, so if you don't come out and look absolutely amazing, then what are you doing? Their next game, though, Georgia Tech, who just got destroyed by Notre Dame, so looks to be yet another win and will cap off a 12-0 season more than likely for the Georgia Bulldogs. Ohio State, number two, after their huge dominating win over Michigan State, 56-7, now moving to 10-1 on the year. Quarterback C.J. Stroud, 32-35, 432 yards and 6 touchdowns, looking absolutely surgical in that game. And Michigan State just came out not ready, made a lot of mistakes, missed a lot of tackles, and literally got rolled up in the first half. Second half, Ohio State finally let their foot off the pedal. So, you know, it was not a pretty game for Spartan fans in any way, shape, or form. But Ohio State coming in at number two and jumping a couple of spots after this win and knocking Alabama down one was something that a lot of people thought was kind of interesting, which we'll also talk about. Number three, Alabama, after their win against ranked Arkansas, 42-35, a little bit closer, but still set history as quarterback Bryce Young threw for 559 yards, a team record, and 5 touchdowns. Absolutely killing it and keeping his name in that Heisman race along C.J. Stroud. So definitely interesting to see Alabama get knocked down one here behind Ohio State. Definitely a lot of love for the Crimson Tide from the subcommittee, but still you can't knock what Ohio State did. Ohio State looking just disgusting right now, honestly, and looking like they could run away with the Big Ten if they can keep this up. So might be a lock for the playoff. Who knows? We'll definitely see. But coming in at number 4, and this is what I mentioned too a little bit earlier, Cincinnati, after their big win, 48-14 over SMU. Quarterback Desmond Ridder looking great, 274 yards and 3 scores. Getting the job done. That was probably going to be one of the tougher teams they had left on their schedule. Handled them pretty easily. They take on Eastern Carolina here next week. That are 7-4, but Cincinnati getting that 4th spot and being the first group of 5 school to be sitting in a spot like this. So hats off to them. You know, they keep it going. They run it. It seems like now they actually would make it into the playoffs. So we'll definitely see what happens. Number 5, though, Michigan, who has the big date with destiny with Ohio State coming up, had a huge win against Maryland, 59-18. Cade McNamara looking pretty good, 21-28, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hassan Haskins added 2 scores as well. Maryland just was overmatched in this in every way, shape, or form. And, Jimmy, you're hurting me. We love sports. Lightning crushing your Flyers. Sorry, bro. Yeah, Flyers, man. It's hard to stay a fan sometimes, but hey, I'm still here. So, but hey, hats off to the Lightning. They've been killing it. But looking again at Michigan, have that huge day with Ohio State, battle of 10-1s, battle of top 5 teams. Literally going to be for all the marbles right here, as long as they can then go on and win the Big Ten championship. Figures to be the winner of this game. So we'll definitely see how that one ends up shaking out. It's going to be an epic classic, as we're going to talk about a little more in our games to watch. But should be a great game. Number 6, Notre Dame. Now the first team on the outside looking in with no real easy way to get in without some of these teams losing. Beat Georgia Tech 55-0, as we mentioned earlier. Quarterback Jack Cohen looked pretty good, 15 of 20, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Kyron Williams, another 2 scores for him as well. Notre Dame coming on real strong here late in the season and getting some dominating performances these past couple of weeks. So, I mean, watch out for the Fighting Irish. Some things fall their way. You got to figure whoever ends up losing the Ohio State-Michigan game ends up falling behind Notre Dame. And then if Bama were to lose to Georgia, per se, in the SEC title game, Notre Dame might squeak in. So, but things like that have to fall into place. So we'll definitely see, not put the cart before the horse in any kind of way. But that is your college football playoff top 6 currently going into week 13. But Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, and Notre Dame. There's your top 6. Games to watch this upcoming weekend, though, like we talked about earlier. Number 2, Ohio State taking on number 5, Michigan. Battle of 10-1, Saturday, 12 p.m. on Fox. CJ Stroud, I want to see how he's going to match up against this Michigan defense. I think Ohio State's in for a much better fight for Michigan than what they got from Michigan State, but who knows? I think like Ohio State is going to be able to take this one and run, though. So we'll see. Definitely make sure to check that game out. Again, Saturday, 12 p.m. on Fox. Another game, though, that might have some playoff implications. Oklahoma State. Number 10, Oklahoma, 10-1. Number 7, Oklahoma State, 10-1. Oklahoma State's right there behind Notre Dame now. And if, say, Notre Dame were to fall to Stanford next week and a couple other teams were to fall, Oklahoma State could be right there in the thick of it if they can pull off this win against Oklahoma. Oklahoma has been – we were just waiting for that loss to happen, and it finally did. But Oklahoma is now going to be trying to just vie for a Big 12 title and see what happens and hope for a lot of things to go crazy in front of them, as they're still ranked in the top 10 at number 10. So, but – the game between the Sooners and the Cowboys, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. on ABC, so definitely make sure to check that one out. Figures to be a really great Big 12 matchup. But, again, that is our college football top 6. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, but also make sure to check out all of our content platforms, including Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Bullhorn, Player FM, Listen Notes, Spotify, CastBox, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pandora, and Amazon Music. All those for our audio offerings and, of course, the video offerings on YouTube and on Facebook. So definitely make sure to check those out. A lot of great content. As you can see, we're on episode 129, so many great episodes that you can go through, so many great guests. So definitely make sure to check them out. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic, and that is Dan Mullen being fired by Florida after they've been just barely making it along and then lose in overtime to Missouri on the road. Absolutely crazy to see him now fired before they even play the game against Florida State, which figures to be for a bowl game. So absolutely crazy. Kind of shocked it happened at this point, but apparently it was very mutual. Dan Mullen agreeing that maybe it wasn't best for him to coach the last game. But Mullen was 34-15 in 4 seasons at Florida, which add that in his overall record of 103-61. He's still a great coach. Definitely can get wins. But assistant coach Greg Knox was named the interim head coach. You got to figure, though, that Dan Mullen's going to land his feet somewhere. But no matter what, he's still going to be getting paid because Florida's going to pay Mullen his full $12 million buyout. So he's going to be owed $6 million within 30 days of being fired, and then the remaining $6 million to be paid out yearly in $1 million payment. So I can tell you, I definitely would not complain about that in any way, shape, or form. So definitely should work out for him in a lot of great ways. His replacement will be the Gators' fourth head coach in 8 seasons. Gators are going to figure out who they want to try and chase after. Louisiana coach Bill Napier, who's already turned down several SEC head coaching opportunities in recent years, is among the top candidates at Florida. So we'll definitely see what happens. He's also on Virginia Tech's list. So a lot could happen, but I could see Bill Napier making his way to Gainesville for the Gators. But there are other schools out there looking for coaches, including USC, LSU, Washington, Virginia Tech, and TCU. So, a lot could happen, but we'll definitely see what works itself out. A lot of this probably won't be decided until after the season. So we'll definitely see how it works out. But Florida's saying they want to get someone that has high expectations for the program and is able to get them back into a little bit of a role to be able to have that consistency from year to year. So see if Florida's able to pull that off. But Dan Mullen, though, is not the guy now and is out at Florida. So I don't know. Let's see where he drops next. But also you need to make sure you check out all the great merch that we drop. The new FinalScore merch, that is. Definitely need to go check it out, because whether it's a neck gaiter to protect you from COVID-19, a mug for your morning coffee, or a t-shirt just to look cool, we got you covered. Get the latest apparel and gear for your favorite podcast and Podcast City Network by visiting podcastcity.net/shop and checking out the lineup. And a quick shout out to Everett Lee. I see you in the chat there, brother. Great to see you in there. Thank you so much for watching, man. Really appreciate it. But looking at next, our NFL Week 12 predictions is definitely going to be a crazy week of football with Thanksgiving and everything, which I guess we'll go ahead and take the opportunity now. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We're only just a couple of days away. But Thanksgiving games are going to be interesting. Before we even get to that, we got to look at my record. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but the last time I put out my picks, I went 7-6-1. Thanks Steelers and Lions for the tie. I am now 78-55-1 on the season. So not doing too bad. Hopefully we can improve upon it this week, but we're going to look at some of our Thursday Thanksgiving games. The 12:30 game, which will be the Chicago Bears visiting the Detroit Lions. The Bears 3-7, the Lions 0-9-1. The Bears coming off that disappointing loss by 3 points against Baltimore, hoping for a lot more from Justin Fields going forward. I think they'll be able to find it here against just a lowly Detroit Lions team that's going to be getting Jared Goff back from his little injury, presumably. Has not been made official yet. So I got the Bears in this one, and I think it's not going to be quite that close. So I think this is going to be one of the Bears' big wins of the season. Looking at the 4:30 game, though, we have the 5-5 Las Vegas Raiders taking on the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys definitely looking to right the ship after having that disappointing loss to Kansas City last week. Vegas just kind of tail spinning ever since they've lost their head coach and Henry Ruggs. But I think the Cowboys at home on Thanksgiving is going to be able to right the boat and be able to get their 8th win of the season, taking the Cowboys against the Raiders. Our 8:20 game, though, we have the Buffalo Bills at 6-4 taking on the 5-5 Saints. Bills not looking the strongest as of late, but neither are the Saints. Bills on the road, though, I think are going to be able to have an advantage, especially when you look at the quarterback situation for the Saints. It's not working out that great. People are figuring out the defense. Just look at what Philadelphia did last week, and when they were able to throw 40 up on them. I think the Bills can also right their ship and be able to get things going and be able to get their 7th win of the season and start putting pressure on the Patriots in the AFC East. So we'll definitely see how that one works out. But looking at our Sunday games, our first one is tip off the 1 p.m. games. We have the 5-4-1 Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the 6-4 Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers are looking like a team that really can kind of hang with some teams, even though it seems like they play to the level of the teams that they're up against. Definitely is going to be an interesting game, especially when you look at the perspective of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against an aged Ben Roethlisberger. So it's a very tough one to call. I think this one will be yet another close game, but I think the Steelers will finally push through and be able to get a win here and push themselves to 6-4-1 and drop the Bengals to 6-5. Our next game, we have the 7-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions, taking on the recently resurgent Indianapolis Colts at 6-5. This game, I think, will actually be a better game than most people predict. I think this is going to be a real close nail-biter. Carson Wentz playing some great football, but even better than him, Jonathan Taylor is running the rock like no one's ever seen. Definitely got me over 50 points in fantasy last week. And it figures to be a very formidable offense that the Buccaneers are going to have to try and stop. And with some injuries they've been having on the defensive side, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to get it fully done. I think the Colts are going to be able to score some points. However, I also think the Buccaneers will be able to score some points because they are back at full strength. And I think that the Buccaneers will end up taking this one. It's going to be a really tight game. I could see it even come down to the last possession or a field goal difference. But the Buccaneers are going to win this game and push themselves to 8-3. It's going to be real good stuff, man. I'm telling you, make sure to watch that game. That's going to be one of my games of the week right there. Next game, though, the 5-6 Carolina Panthers, now re-led by Cam Newton, take on the 4-7 Miami Dolphins. The Panthers are starting to find themselves a little bit more, even after the loss they suffered last week. The Dolphins have just been a tailspin and been looking for answers. They just don't have enough weapons, more so than anything. So I think this is going to be one of those kind of grimy, beat each other up kind of games where you're going to see both offenses sputter at times. You're going to see both defenses sputter at times. So I think that in this kind of game, the Panthers are going to end up having the upper hand. Let's be honest, Tua Tagovailoa is a poor man's Cam Newton, in my opinion. So I think Cam Newton's going to be able to do a better job in this game and be able to get enough out of his team to be able to win this game. So taking the Panthers to win this and finally get themselves back to 500. The next game, though, also another game of the week, in my opinion. The 8-3 Tennessee Titans taking on the 7-4 New England Patriots. This game figures to really be an interesting matchup and probably was the hardest game for me to pick this week for a number of reasons. And I think it's not going to be a defensive battle, but this game will be it'll be back and forth. It's not going to get out of hand. It's going to be very close. Mac Jones playing great for Bill Belichick right now. The Patriots get themselves on a roll. Now the AFC East leaders. It's going to be interesting. Tennessee Titans, though, down Julio Jones and Derrick Henry on the year. Definitely some huge hits for them. Not being able really to find much in the backfield. Also releasing Adrian Peterson just recently. So it's going to still be back and forth. Ryan Tannehill just finds ways to move the ball, as does Mac Jones. So I'm going to take the Patriots, though, in an upset at home to beat the Titans. And I think this also will come down to a last possession, field goal attempt, maybe. But we'll definitely see what we get from that one. It's definitely going to be an exciting game, so definitely make sure to check it out. Our next game, though, we have the 5-6 Philadelphia Eagles. My Eagles taking on the 3-7 New York Giants. Giants coming off that horrible win, 30-10 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. Also firing their head coach, Jason Garrett, which we're going to get to after this segment. But the Eagles are just rolling right now and getting big wins against the Broncos, getting another big win against the Saints, and making it look good. So I think the Eagles have found their way on defense. I think offensively they have kind of found a rhythm with their run game and with Jalen Hurts as a part of that run game. Philadelphia Eagles, I think, take this one, and I think they're going to take it pretty handedly against the Giants on the road. Eagles get themselves back to 500. Our next game, the 4-6 Atlanta Falcons taking on the 2-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars looking dismal, not being able to get anything going. Trevor Lawrence, little scandals here and there, and trading away a couple pieces recently. Falcons, though, also not looking that great. Got blanked by the Patriots, 25-0 recently, and just can't find their way, especially now with Calvin Ridley out. They had already traded Julio Jones, so not a lot of answers at receiver right now. And not a lot of answers at running back either. And it's sad, especially for Matt Ryan right now. But I still think that with Kyle Pitts at tight end and what they do have right now, they'll be able to find a way, because Jacksonville is just too poor of a team to be able to do anything, I feel like, against the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be able to take this one. Defense will be able to keep Jacksonville decently bottled up, and the Falcons will find win number 5 on the year. Our last 1 o'clock game, though, we had the 2-8 New York Jets taking on the 2-8 Houston Texans in a battle of the craps. Both teams, two of the worst in the league in a number of categories. Houston, though, was able to get a win against the Tennessee Titans somehow last week. The New York Jets, just, man, it's the Jets, man. Like, what do you want? They got Joe Flacco at quarterback right now. So I feel like because of that, I have a little bit more trust in Tyrod Taylor to get the job done. And I think Houston's going to get their second win in a row and third on the year against the New York Jets and be able to celebrate at home on that one. So definitely will be interesting. Crap Bowl 2.0 here. But looking at our 405 game, we have the LA Chargers at 6-4 taking on the 5-5 Denver Broncos in Mile High. The Chargers coming off that narrow win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Denver, man, gosh, it's you want to like them, but they just can't find ways to win. And I think that's what really holds them back, even though they were able to notch a W against Dallas not too long ago either. So I think this game will be interesting. It will be close. Denver's defense is not as good now without Von Miller, so I think the LA Chargers are going to have a little bit easier of a time moving the ball, and I think the Chargers are going to end up winning this game by probably a touchdown, so definitely make sure to check that one out. Our 425 games, though, we have the 7-3 LA Rams taking on the 8-3 Green Bay Packers in the frozen tundra. And the Rams are definitely going to be out of their element, going from, sunny LA to frozen Green Bay. And we're already getting into November and late November. So this is going to be cold. And I think the Rams are going to bring a little bit of that heat with them to melt down that frozen tundra. Green Bay coming off that loss against Minnesota. I think right now they're still trying to find themselves. Green Bay is going to definitely give the LA Rams hell. But I think the Rams are going to get back on track, especially coming off the bye, and be able to get this win right here. So taking the Rams to win this and move themselves to 8-3 on the season. Our other 425 game, though, we have the 5-5 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 5-5 San Francisco 49ers. Minnesota Vikings looking pretty good against the Green Bay Packers. Were able to get that big win. And Kirk Cousins quietly putting together a decent little season for himself. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, is still hot cold in my opinion when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance still having issues. Still saying they're going to try and work him in here and there. But I think the Vikings defense is going to be too much for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that Minnesota is going to be able to still quietly guide themselves back over 500 and get the win here. Our Sunday night football game, we have the 6-5 Cleveland Browns taking on the 7-3 Baltimore Ravens in an AFC North rivalry game. The Browns looking dismal right now, just injuries, issues going on with that team. And I just don't think they're going to be able to have enough against that Ravens defense. Ravens defense, not the greatest, but can definitely get to the quarterback here and there. Lamar Jackson expected to be back after missing last week's game with an illness. So you factor in that with how banged up Baker Mayfield is, and I think the Baltimore Ravens end up taking this game. Could be close, but last time I said that the Browns were going to be close in a game, they ended up getting blown out. So there you go. So we'll see what happens, but Ravens win no matter what. Our Monday night game, though, figures to be very interesting. Washington football team playing some inspired football, going to be at home against the visiting Seattle Seahawks. Who are 3-7, but have lost a lot of those games without Russell Wilson in the lineup. Russell Wilson now back, starting to find his groove a little, and I think the Seahawks end up taking this one in a nail-biter. I think Washington's going to make this a very interesting game. Tyler Heineke is definitely a good quarterback. Franchise quarterback level, though, I'm not sure. He's not a Russell Wilson. So I think Russell Wilson and the Seahawks end up taking that one, but definitely make sure to check back next week to see how my picks go, to see how right I was or wrong I was on some of these games. So definitely make sure to check that out, but also check out Podcast City Network and all the great things going on over there at Podcast City Network, because FinalScore is a proud member of PCN and they're 20 plus independent podcast members across all genres of podcasting. You can find Podcast City Network on all major social media platforms, including Facebook.com/Podcast City Network, on Twitter and Instagram at Podcast City Net, on YouTube by searching keyword Podcast City Network, and on their website, podcastcity.net. Be creative, be independent, be yourself, Podcast City Network. But that does bring us to Jason Garrett, who's been let go as the Giants offensive coordinator after their 30-10 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what's crazier about it, too, is that Jason Garrett had only been with the franchise for less than 2 years, and he's already been let go. The Giants have averaged 18.9 points per game this season, which is 25th in the NFL on offense. Horrible numbers, leading to the 3-7 record they have now. In 2020, in his first season, the Giants were 31st in the NFL with 17.5 points per game, so not that much of an improvement. That's going to be able to get this team back to the promised land. So we'll definitely see how things work out for Jason Garrett. This is so funny, and I hate him so much just because he is the former Dallas Cowboys head coach as well. So it's just so funny to see him actually get a shot at calling plays and be horrible at it. The Giants on Monday, though, and against the Bucs, finished with 215 total yards, the second lowest total of the 26-game Judge era, and just 66 rushing yards, which is also horrible. The 15 first downs was a season low, and only one of the Giants' 54 offensive plays versus the Bucs gained more than 16 yards, period. So it just goes to show they just don't have a lot of innovation or anything going on with that offense right now, and they can't get it going. And just to make matters worse, the Giants have scored 30 points only once in the 26 games since Jason Garrett joined the team. So not getting it done there, Jason Garrett. You need to maybe find a lesser role. Maybe go be like no line coach, quarterback's coach. You played quarterback at one point, so why not? But it's funny and sad all at the same time. But that's Jason Garrett. So now let go as Giants offensive coordinator and on the unemployment line. But you also need to check out City Limits Tap Room in beautiful DeLand, Florida, located at 4425 North US Highway 17 in DeLand, Florida. City Limits Tap Room has a lot of great stuff going on. Just moved to their new digs over there on Highway 17. Great food, inside, outside bar. A great lounging area, soon to be some live entertainment area. A lot of great stuff going on there. So definitely make sure to go down there and check out all the great stuff that they have going on. Again, located at 4425 North US Highway 17 in DeLand, Florida. So definitely make sure to go check them out. City Limits Tap Room in beautiful DeLand, Florida. But that does now bring us to the good old meme madness, and definitely got a few funny ones for you guys this week. Definitely hope you enjoy them. Our first one says, can't go 0-17 if you have a tie. Oh, man. Oh, hilarious stuff. I love it. But it's true. Can't go 0-17 if you got that tie. But I want to show you some true art, because this is art. Oh, it's too good. Harder back to that Dolphins-Ravens game where the big man scored himself a touchdown. Great stuff. Really great stuff. Our next one, though, says the Carolina Panthers are currently paying Cam Newton's replacement, Cam Newton's replacement's replacement, and for Cam Newton to replace his own replacement's replacement. Oh, excuse me. So funny I had a hack along. Woo. This next one, though, definitely pays homage to this past weekend. As we saw, the Texans beat the Titans, the Colts demolished the Bills, the Vikings topped the Packers with a clutch field goal, and the Bears almost beat the Ravens, and the Eagles destroying the Saints. Happy opposite day. Oh, me. But our next one says how Bears fans looking at Matt Nagy. That's right, the head coach of the Chicago Bears on the hot seat right now. A lot of people saying he might be ousted soon, so we'll definitely see how that one works out. Of course, we'll report it here first. Our next one, though, says kind of gives a portrayal of what we were expecting Dak Prescott versus Patrick Mahomes to be versus kind of what we actually got. Oh, me. But our last one of the evening says Josh Allen had enough of today's game. Get him a beer. Oh, man. Great stuff. Great stuff. But that is our meme madness. So thank you guys so much for viewing. If you're listening to our audio portion right now, you can go find the video portion on YouTube by searching PCN Final Score, or on Facebook by also searching PCN Final Score, and going to the video section and clicking on any episode. We've been doing meme madness now for getting closer to a year now, thanks to the great idea by Meme God Jimmy, who will have to get on the show at some point again in the future. But still carrying on that banner of meme madness. So definitely great stuff. But definitely also make sure to check out Podcast City Network, because they offer a lot of things, especially if you're a budding podcast. And have you always wanted to start a podcast but didn't know how? Do you already have a podcast but don't know how to grow it? Are you trying to find ways to make your podcast profitable? You can learn to do it here at Podcast City Network. We offer consulting services and tutorial classes to help with learning to better expand your knowledge and to grow your show. We also give access to our network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guest, and overall reach, while also becoming a part of our ever-expanding PCN community based on people helping people. The best part is no membership fee. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest growing independent podcast network around, Podcast City Network. And shout out to Everly in the chat, posting those links to all the Podcast City Network pages where you can find a lot of this information for the services, to be able to join the network, all of our shows, all our great sponsors. Definitely make sure to go check it out. A lot of great stuff going on over there at Podcast City Network. But that does bring us to Give or Go. And we got a couple good ones this week. Our first one says, New York Giants great Michael Strahan is set to be a space tourist next month aboard a Blue Origin flight. And if you don't know about Blue Origin, this is the brainchild of Jeff Bezos, and has tried to start his little space tourism with it, taking William Shatner into space not that long ago, and now apparently taking Michael Strahan as well. So definitely very interesting, and I'm sure there'll be some type of YouTube broadcast on it, as a lot of these entities try to broadcast this stuff on YouTube now, with SpaceX and Blue Origin and all these different new commercial rocket companies. So we'll definitely see what we get from that. Definitely is going to be interesting for sure, and I'm sure he's in for one hell of a ride. But speaking of Matt Nagy, the Chicago Bears coach Matt Nagy said he's focused on the Detroit Lions and not his job status, after a report came out that he might be on the hot seat and being let go soon. So definitely very interesting to see this report drop, but also Matt Nagy trying to act like, oh yeah, it's all business as usual. Bro, you're about to get fired. All right, you cannot get the job done, and you got quarterbacks for days. So now trying to put Andy Dalton back in, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, yeah, Justin Fields, play with him. So I don't understand. I really don't. He needs to be fired immediately. He's not a good coach, but call that scathing, whatever. That was give or go. So definitely make sure to check it out again next week, as we always try to give or go our more controversial topics, or ones that might get people riled up. So, or just ones that we find interesting that aren't just part of the normal news cycle. So definitely make sure to check out Give or Go. Really great segment that we have here on Final Score. But you also need to check out Podchaser, because Apple Podcasts is no longer the only credible source for podcast discovery. You can follow creators, browse every podcast ever, and rate and review episodes. Go to podchaser.com and search keyword Final Score, one word, and follow, rate, and review us. But that does bring us to the week ahead. Definitely going to be a lot of great action with NFL Week 12 action going on, as well as Week 13 college football action, as we see a lot of people, or a lot of teams, I should say, wrap up their seasons and get ready for conference championship play. So definitely make sure to check that out, as well, along with the PCN sports lineup, including Not a Hockey Market Podcast, which just started their new season with the NHL season. As well as the Couch Dads podcast. They got stuff going on over there too, as part of the Not a Hockey Market podcast. You also can check out the Nest podcast, the Rip Griffin Show, the Sportszilla podcast, and Fixed Edge, which Fixed Edge is sorry they weren't able to come live this week, but they will be coming back next week. They're just taking Thanksgiving off. But definitely make sure to check out me and S Money on Fixed Edge. We should be back next week, next Tuesday, probably around noon 30. So definitely make sure to check that out, as well as episode 130 of Final Score. 130, man, of Final Score next week, live here on Facebook Live, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. So definitely make sure to check that out as well. But I thank all of you so much for joining, especially you, Everly. I really appreciate you posting all those links in the chat. And we'll definitely see you guys next week for episode 130. But until then, I'm Chris, and you guys have just watched Final Score. Y'all have a great night.
Podcast City Network.